Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
It is us, Grant and Aaron, for maybe the first time. We are the Paper Dungeon, and this is Table Scraps, kind of. Um, Normally, we are a Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition group. That's what we normally play. It's what we normally do. We are in the transition period between Campaign 1 and Campaign 2. So we were doing a whole bunch of work on that end. So today, apparently, Grant has prepared something special for us that involves asking me questions.
I have. And I'm actually quite excited about this. I went on an adventure onto the abyss of Reddit.
Oh, no.
Which I rarely do. I've rarely been on Reddit. You know, I end up there when I've exhausted all my options on WikiHow, I end up going to Reddit.
Yeah, he closes out his 17 tabs on WikiFeet.
Ew. Yeah. We should start wiki feeds for all of the D&D.
I've been saying this for years.
But we can't tell Drew and DJ.
No.
So,
well, that might be illegal.
You think so?
I don't know, man. It seems suspicious.
No, they start wiki feeds for people all the time. Like
just because it's impossible. Just because it's impossible to trace them doesn't mean it's legal. I don't know, man.
So I went on Reddit. I wandered on Reddit, and I went to r/D&D, and what I did was I basically looked for questions, like tricky, silly, goofy rules questions, specifically for DMs. In this case, it was a thread started by a user, Skeldoll, on Reddit, and they were asking people to help them prepare for their first D&D session. And so all of the responses were theoretically from DMs, like giving scenarios and questions that this new DM would have to figure out. So I thought it was pretty fun. I don't have like an insane number, but I think it would be fun to kind of go through these and see how you might roll them.
I will do my best. I would like to give a preclaimer. One, I just woke up from a nap. And it was like
you're in the perfect state for this.
Dude, it was like one of those hard naps. Like it was like a 2-hour nap where I was like I was just about to enter REM sleep, dude. And I pried my eyes open. And I was like to like get out. So, whew. Second thing.
Did you have any dreams? Did you have any? Oh,
I never
do.
I never do, and that's a story for another day, Grant. That's some Aaron. Okay. That's an Aaron lore story.
Yeah,
time.
That's some Aaron lore.
Second thing, if I ever look really confused or if there's a weird glare, I've recently been playing PS2 games on my monitor over here, and so for some reason the PS2 games really don't translate well. So I've had to really mess with adjust the brightness and stuff of the TV. So Grant looks the most deep fried. Like I have contrast way up, like.
You know, we're talking about changing kind of our branding and the feel and the style of our campaign too. We could do something creative like that, maybe.
Do you know the? I know you know the meme, but you know the original, the like origin of the like me and the boys at 2 a.m. looking for beans, and it's like the picture of all the shadow demons. You look like your colors for me on this monitor are the same colors that were in that meme.
I'm looking for beans right now.
Yeah.
3 a.m.
2 a.m. Me and the boys looking for beans. Yeah, that's you.
Hey, that's my brother in chat.
Yes,
welcome.
I know. Long-time viewer, long-time friend.
To give a recap real quick, I'm going to be asking Aaron some tricky rules questions from D&D that I found on Reddit. So, other part of this, a rule that I determined is, I figure with a lot of these questions, there's going to be like stipulations that change the result as to how you might rule it. So if there are these things, for example, how heavy is this boulder or something like that, I will be the one that develops the scenario. So
okay.
I'll try to throw some curveballs. We'll see.
I'm in it.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes.
I was born for this.
This will be some preparation for when you're DMing us for campaign 2. That's the idea.
You know me. I am so unbelievably prepared and ready for this. You have no idea.
To be fair, most of the ones that I found are pretty goofy. They're not, I don't know how rules solid they are, so some of them might just be like, oh, you can't do that.
Look, my, so we'll my year and a half of playing in a game, at least one game every single day, has set the stage for me to be able to do this for you.
Yeah. Come on, everybody. You got this, Aaron.
Don't clap for that. It was a terrible, terrible time in my life.
Alrighty. So let's get this show on the road, shall we?
I'm ready.
So the first question, we're starting with a softball. All right. The first question is from a user called Archimedes, and the question is, I found this stone on the ground. Can I swallow it whole?
Yes. So
There's no follow-up question like how large is the stone?
Here's the thing. Is
it radioactive?
Most of the answers to these questions are going to be yes, you can. My follow-up statement to this is, assuming that the stone is anything larger than like a quarter. At that point in time, I'll have a varying level of constitution check for you to be able to go.
Ooh,
if it gets to the point in time that the stone is larger than what you could fit in your mouth, then we'll have to do some work here.
So let's say this stone is like, it's really tough to fit in my mouth. I gotta open my jaw as far as I can. It's scraping on my teeth. Like, what might I have to roll in order to try to swallow this stone?
If you want to eat this stone without breaking it, there's going to be damage involved. There's probably going to be damage involved eventually, like in all circumstances. People shouldn't eat rocks. Now, here's the other question. What type of character are they playing?
Medium character.
Like, is this like is it a dwarf or is it like a warforged? Because, like, if you're a warforged, then you don't need to eat, and so you might just be putting a rock inside of you for storage purposes.
For some reason. I would think that this is a normal flesh and
bone. This is a flesh creature.
Humanoid, medium-sized.
And not made of goo, because they have those now.
No.
Goo people? Okay, yeah. Not goo person,
when
just
you were
regular
saying
flesh and bone.
Involved, I could hardly hold it together. Like, I'm already giggling. How much damage are we talking? Let's say it's like this stone is the size of like a small loaf of bread that you could, or like a burger.
Okay, yeah,
you could
like
try to
a
eat
burger-sized
like McDonald's burger.
Burger-sized stone, assuming that you succeed on the Constitution check. If you can't succeed the Constitution check, then I'm just gonna say that you can't fit this thing in your mouth. Like, you may take damage still just from hurting your teeth, but it'll be like a D4 or 2. If you succeed, that's going to be at least like a D10 of, I'm going to say, bludgeoning damage. Because that's going to be you, like, breaking your jaw, like, unhinging your jaw like a snake to fit this thing in your mouth. And, like, swallowing that ain't going to be pretty. So I'd maybe even throw in, like a D4. Like, at that point in time, I don't want to hit you with another D6. But, like, a D4 of slashing damage may be appropriate on top of that. If you break the rock, that's going to be several D4s of slashing damage.
Follow-up question.
Yeah, hit me.
It's been 8 hours, 10 hours maybe. It's the end of the day. People are preparing to go to sleep. Like, are there any long-term stipulations that you would have?
Here's the thing, you're thinking
doing something of this magnitude.
You're thinking small time, right? Grant. Small time. Because here's the thing, rocks don't digest.
What's a big time version of this?
I'm getting to that. Let me cook.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay, yeah. Rocks don't digest easy. So the thing is, as a DM, if my players are making choices like this out of the blue, then you got to hit them where it hurts. This is going to come back to bite them in the most inconvenient circumstance. Like, they're going to be like,
saying what I think you're
they're
saying?
going to be like, finally, we've caught up with the prince of this land. It's time for us to have, like, an envoy communication to, like, convince the prince to stop the war on these people. You're going to get up and be like, Prince, my liege. And I'm going to be like, I'm gonna need you to roll a Constitution saving throw.
You have to poop out a rock the size of a
And
burger now.
It's got to come out somewhere.
Like
I'm not sure which way it's gonna go, but your body has decided that now is the time.
That's kind of messed up.
Because if it's just like at the end of the day, that's small potatoes, dude.
My brother said it's burger time.
My eyes are on the screen all the time. I see it. I feel it. Not as much
so
as they about to be feeling that rock.
Convenient time.
Least convenient time.
It's time to pass this stone.
This is a learning. This is a learning moment. It's a teaching moment.
I feel like, yeah, you're teaching me what to look out for when you're the DM.
Don't eat rocks.
Which I appreciate.
Unless it makes sense for your character to eat rocks.
Like, what, a magical rock that only activates if you eat it? Like, that's all I can think of.
No. Like, so there could be... I mean, I can think of... Is this one of the questions? Like, what situation is it right to eat a rock?
No, we're just driving this question home.
In that case, I will simply tell you...
we might not get to any other questions.
In that case, I will simply tell you, there are circumstances where it is right to eat a rock. I can think of them, and it just requires a little bit of imagination. I'm sure that you could too. You're a very creative person.
I just had a picture of... Have you seen Shrek 3?
Parts.
It's parts of Shrek 3. It's the one where Arthur has to go to the dying king and then take the throne, but Shrek has to go collect Arthur.
Yes.
So there's a character in there that's a wizard that eats gravel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most D&D you were eating rocks moment. Thublong Shammyham was actually based on this character.
Oh God, I hate it.
Did you know that?
I didn't know. What did I tell you? What did I tell you about saying that name in my presence, Grant? What did I tell you? Oh my God! For those of you who don't know,
Marshall knows what I'm talking about.
For those of you who don't know, that is my least favorite character Grant has ever played.
Yeah.
And that's a high bar.
Unbearable.
Oh my goodness.
Rock beats scissors, indeed. All right, moving on. This next question is from Regular Joe 42.
Ooh, Regular Joe.
I am a wizard who is standing in a wide open plain next to a sleeping and deaf ogre.
Okay.
I want to use Conjure Animal as a third level spell, unmodified, to summon horses high above the ogre in an attempt to crush the ogre with their weight. What is the most amount of damage I can do?
Am I able to do research as I would be able to do in a Dungeons & Dragons game?
I think that would be fair.
Like I need to be able to know the specifications of the spell Conjure Animals.
That's fair. You know what? I would allow you. I would allow that.
Okay, fantastic. So...
I mean, I'd like to know your guess, maybe.
Well, here's the thing. The first question is, are you even able to conjure animals without a base underneath them? That's the first question. I was wondering
the same thing. Yeah. Plus, if the spell range is only 5 feet.
Well, yeah, because most of the time, conjure animals is going to be, or conjuring spells are going to have that stipulation. Now,
I was also wondering, how many horses can you even conjure with third level? That's another question.
Well, yeah. So, and all of this for DMs out there, there's nothing wrong with just looking stuff up. People are going to ask you a question that involves conjure animals, and you're going to go, first of all, I have no idea what that spell is. Second of all, I have no idea any information about a horse. I've got nothing.
You all can look forward in campaign 2. Aaron constantly going onto D&D forums, try to find the answers to complex questions.
Absolutely. So, let's see. Theoretically, they would be able to summon 8 horses.
8?
Because a riding horse is a challenge rating of 1/4, and conjure animals is able to summon 1 beast of 2 or lower, 2 beasts of 1 or lower, 4 beasts of 1/2 or lower, 8 beasts of 1/4 or lower. Those beasts are also considered fey, and it disappears when it drops 0 hit points or when the spell ends. What type of creature are these being dropped on?
It is, to quote them, a sleeping and deaf ogre.
Okay. So the answer...
And the question, just to refresh, is what is the most amount of damage I can do?
Oh yeah. So we've got a bit of a situation here, because the answer is not going to be as pleasant and clever as you'd hope.
That's okay. I wasn't expecting anything pleasant or clever on this podcast today. So,
well, you shouldn't expect anything like pleasant while I'm just in the room. Oh my goodness, I can't believe this. That's so convenient. Well, literally I typed in average, and like the 4th search is average horse weight.
No way. Wait, can I guess?
Yeah, hit me.
437 pounds.
I'm gonna tell you right now, you are 500 pounds short.
Is it? Holy cow!
Yeah, horses on average weigh
937 pounds.
They on average weigh between 900 and 1,200, so they're on average 1 ton of weight. Hello, Anchored Anky. We're doing horse math right here.
Yeah, we're talking about how heavy the average horse is.
Yeah, so this is the thing. You have...
Should I repeat the question for Anchored?
Yeah, hit him. This is the refresher, because I'm about to do
Here's the refresher.
Some wicked math.
I am a wizard who is standing in a wide open plain next to a sleeping and deaf ogre. I want to use Conjure Animal as a 3rd level spell, unmodified, to summon horses high above the ogre in an attempt to crush the ogre with their weight. What is the most amount of damage I can do? That's the question for Aaron.
Now, you can summon 8 of these horses. Let's assume that they show up as exactly 1,000 pounds. And you have 60 feet of range on this spell, and by all technicality, you don't actually have any requirement to summon them on level ground. So you don't need to... It just needs to be an unoccupied space. Now...
And theoretically, they could sneak up right next to the ogre and get him 60 feet up, right?
Yeah, they can get right up beside him. Now, I would still have them roll some form of stealth check to get up there. It's going to be a really easy one, though, seeing as though they cannot hear anything and are asleep. Now, you summon these 8 horses, drop them from 60 feet in the air, they fall down. Now, here's the interesting part, is that falling damage, assuming that you're calculating it how we calculate it, is 1d10 per 10 feet. So it's literally for every 10 feet, you take 1d10 damage. And there is not a weight difference. So if you are like a medium-sized creature versus a large-sized creature, then you're not going to be able to math that well. Like it's not going to change the damage between the two.
You could summon 8 penguins,
and it would deal the same amount of damage.
Well,
actually,
that doesn't seem logical.
Actually, it may deal more damage to summon penguins
because they can fit in.
Because a horse and an ogre are the same size class.
Oh,
so they are both considered large-sized creatures. Now, the only thing that you can do about this is, so a large-sized creature in Dungeons & Dragons takes up 2 5-foot squares of space. So a horse is a large creature, where if you have, imagine a grid of 5-foot squares. You're going to have your squares there. A medium creature fills up 1. A small creature can fit in the same space as a medium creature. And a medium creature can fit in the space of a large creature.
Oh.
So you have basically 2 5-foot squares next to each other for this ogre. You could theoretically line the horses up. So there's 2 of them side by side, and the like front or rear half of them is both landing on a 5-foot square. So let's assume you do that. Your other 6 horses aren't gonna do anything. In fact, one of them may land on you.
And
but
you have to summon all of the animals in the same spot. You can't like stack them.
You theoretically could stack them, but I would not have it rule that it deals additional damage to the thing below. Also, it's not going to provide any like fantastic like, oh, maybe it'll struggle to get up, because horses only have 13 hit points, and they're going to be taking
so they
like
all die on impact,
like 6d10 damage if you manage to roll under 13, which is doable. It's still not going to be like very useful. But assuming you rolled max on all of your dice, the answer to your question is I would rule, assuming you're using d10s, 120 damage. Now, if you're using d6s, that's obviously going to be less.
That's a lot of damage.
Yes, it will
like that
theoretically.
Could kill an ogre.
Oh yeah, ogres on average have 59 health, so one horse may be able to kill them if you roll max damage.
I'll keep that in mind for campaign 2.
If you've got d6s instead of d10s, which is actually the rules as written.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I thought, Grant, calm it down there, bucko.
I'm not gonna do it.
We're in public.
It's just us.
But d6s are that's going to max out at what? 6 times 6 is 36 times 2, which is 72.
72.
72, 74, something like that. So that would max out at around there. Also, as a DM, I do not condone animal abuse. So there will be repercussions.
Yeah.
Because also you have to remember.
Wait. You're saying you would punish the player for trying to drop horses on an ogre?
Well, so you got to remember, these aren't normal horses. These are fae that you've summoned in the shape of horses. So what you're doing is you're basically you're calling, you're like, fae to me, riding steeds, I require them. And then they plummet 60 feet to the death, experience the pain of damage, and then are sent away. They ain't gonna like that. Like, they don't die, but I would imagine that they still feel the pain. Like, that can't be super fond of. Like, if you use this too often, you're going to incur some fae wrath. Also, you shouldn't hurt animals.
In the fae, they're in the fae, and they can feel the tingle around them, like they're going to be teleported. They know who it is, and they're like, oh boy, here we go again.
I think the concern is when you think that you're not in the fae. When the fae comes to you, that's the problem.
Fair. Anchored is drawing, like, big brain strings from this stream to, like, predictions for campaign 2 right now in chat. And all I'll say is I'm not going to say yes or no to anything. Anchored.
Oh yeah, we cannot give any clear defined answers to anything that's happening.
You're just gonna have to wait and see. Yeah. All right, moving on to the next question.
Hit me.
This question comes from Gunnar McGrath. What do you do when all your players show way more interest in trying to overthrow the local government that you haven't spent any time thinking about than go on the adventure you prepared?
First answer is I never have an adventure prepared. I always have the exact adventure that you're going on prepared. So for me, I don't care what you do. You will end up doing the things that I prepared because they're vague enough that that's just what happens. So like if you show up in a town, also if I have a town that has a local government, I know what's going on in it. I don't have look, if you're gonna like list the things that people are most likely to fight when they enter a town, government is like top 3.
Here's what I believe of you. This is an assumption I make of you. If there's a local government, there's a whole like soap opera, like sitcom situation going on
Oh yeah.
within that local government that we have the chance to uncover. I'm thinking like pirate government, right? We went on that pirate arc. There was
Mm-hmm.
literally a pirate government made out of 7 different pirate captains or something. Honestly, a great hook for a fun little D&D
Yeah.
like thing.
So
In
here's
Genius
the
campaign,
thing.
we could have just done that.
So
right?
this is a trick that I'll give to DMs, and this will make your world your
DMs, listen up.
absolutely change. It will absolutely change how you design campaigns and how your world feels. You don't need a lot to make a world feel alive. Your players don't even have to know 90% of the things that are those little things that you know. So it isn't like when they walk into town, I have a very in-depth plot already set up for the government. What I do have is one thing. Generalize it down to one thing and say the local government really doesn't like the local festival that will be on in the next 3 months. That is their characterization. And so if they happen to go into the town hall or something, and they're like, oh, what do I see? Like, what's all going on here? You don't have to panic, because you can say, oh, all these civil servants are running around. Most of them just look stressed out. And then the ones that are clearly the higher ups, if they roll a perception check or an insight check, are muttering to themselves about this dang festival that's going on the next 3 months. And then when they say, what festival is it? You don't need a lot.
What
because you
festival
should
is it, Aaron?
you should ask yourself that question when you decide that that's going to be the problem. What festival? And you're going to say, "Oh, well, it's the autumn festival."
It's the fire festival.
Yeah,
it's
the autumn festival.
Burning the Avatar festival.
Yes, it's the autumn festival. And autumn is close. You know, fire is their autumn element. They've decided that. And the higher-ups in the government really don't like that because it is considered pagan and they are heavily influenced by the church. Great.
So now the party is like, this festival it's so cool. It rocks. Let's overthrow the government.
Absolutely. They're like, well, maybe they don't like the church. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
And they're like, yo, that's not cool. These people are very clearly influenced by the, like this, because here's the thing. You've done 2 things for this situation as a DM. And because of those 2 things, you have now created a feeling of a living area where, like, if you just moved along, you may hear, like, oh, an interesting bill was posed by the mayor of this small town banning this autumn fire festival. And then you're like, oh, we were in that town. So now you have, like, this living area where people are doing their own things that have nothing to do with the party until the party decide to insert themselves. And because of following a logical train of thought of, like, okay, they don't like this festival. What is the festival? Why don't they like it? You've now created a church system that may have a lot of influence over governmental systems. So that could be a plot hook down the line. Maybe they do end up fighting the church. Maybe they go and lobby towards the church and like protest against it. Who knows what happens from there?
Politics.
And then
now,
you just have a bunch of things
something
going on.
My brother had a really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Make clerks and secretaries with increasingly annoying, boring voices.
Absolutely. Like, so this is the thing. This concept even goes for making NPCs. Like, if someone's like, okay, and this is when you're planning your town, your city, and stuff like that, try to think of a few key NPCs that you're going to have them interact with. Like, when they enter the office building, you're going to have a bunch of people in that, like, city hall. You're only going to have them interact with, like, 1 or 2. So you can have a bunch of background people running around, and then have your 1 or 2 people that is like, oh, if they do actually end up going here, the person at the main desk is Cynthia. And Cynthia really wanted to be an actress. And that's your thing about Cynthia. And so you're going to walk up and be like, hey, could I talk to the mayor? And Cynthia's going to respond, super bored, super irritated with life, like
Aw, poor
dreaming
Cynthia.
of the stage. And then because here's the thing, your players are going to latch on to literally anything at all at any point in time. That like it's
That's so true.
It's
Wait, say that again for the people in the back.
Your players are going to latch on to anything you put in front of them at any point in time. They're going to see a problem and they're going to be like, "Oh yes, this is what I've decided to fixate on.
This is what my life has accumulated towards."
And so now,
person's dream of being an actress.
Your entire session may be taken up by them trying to like encourage Cynthia to follow her dreams and join an acting troupe. They may set her up with a local acting like group that meets on Thursdays. Like they're gonna walk up and someone's gonna be like, "Hey, what's going on with this secretary?" You know, with a couple of good questions, maybe an investigation check later down the line, an insight check, they'll learn about her interest in the theater. And that explains why she has this incredibly annoying, boring voice. And it's very, "Yeah, sweetie, what can I do you for?"
You just brought it full circle.
"Well, what can I do you for?" "Yeah, you want to talk to the mayor? That's not happened. He's scheduled, he's booked up until the 11th of Juneteenth. Sorry, I can't do anything for you. You're gonna have to come back later." It's just, she's got a cigarette in her hand, clearly not paying attention.
Is that your name, Cynthia?
"Look, that's my name, don't wear it out." Like, keep it monotone, bored. She's not even looking. Don't even look at your players when you're playing her.
Something wrong, Cynthia?
"No, there's nothing wrong. There's plenty of things wrong and nothing that you deserve to know about it. Move along, I've got work to do. I've got papers to send."
Look, I don't like this place any more than you do.
I doubt it.
Why is that?
And that's investigation check. Intimidation check, that's gonna chain things. That's gonna change things. If you're like, "Tell me what you want." Here's the thing. If you roll intimidation,
Cynthia, what's bothering you?
There's a chance that Cynthia is not afraid of that, because I love the idea of a secretary who is so done that like intimidation happens, at minimum not even phased. At maximum, if you succeed on the intimidation, she may be inspired, where it's like, you've now put her on the stage, people are looking at her, and she's like,
she breaks out into a musical number.
Yeah, breaks into a musical number. Straight up goes
I've always wanted to leave.
Full soap opera. Where she's like,
oh yeah.
Suddenly her voice changes and she's like, "You'll never get it out of me. I'll never tell you. No matter what you do, there's nothing that could make me talk." Like,
and then you hear bow bow from the back. That was an orchestra hit. Cueing Cynthia to...
Who knows? Like, you don't need a lot about your NPCs. You don't need a lot about any of the story that you're really doing. There's, like, some things that you should have a lot for. Like, specifically, write a lot for the things that you really find interesting. But, like, for a lot of the small stuff, all you need is one sentence. And that one sentence, with a little bit of creativity, gives you somewhere to start. A lot of DMs get caught because their players talk to this random blank wall that you've put in front of them as an NPC, where it's like, "Yeah, this is Dave," and Dave is exactly the same as every other secretary and bartender they've ever met.
"We need to bring Dave with us, Dave."
Mm-hmm. And you're like, "Well, now I got to think about Dave."
You're supposed to go to the town like 25 minutes ago, and here you are still talking about Dave and his love life.
And that's the beautiful thing about Dungeons & Dragons is, to me, them talking to an NPC for 25 minutes is entirely the reason why they're there. Like, they're clearly enjoying it.
At any point in time.
Yeah, if they're loving it, then I'm doing my job great. And so when you're planning, like, this will help with you, like, making, like, first of all, actually planning things ahead of time. And second of all, like, having that living, breathing world that players don't feel like they're video game characters talking to like the shopkeep that says the exact same voice line every single time they enter the shop. Now they're talking to Cynthia and Dave, like people that have like dreams that have nothing to do with who the party is. And that just makes it like brings your game up to a different level, in my opinion.
Great answer. All right, next question.
Yes.
This one comes from Excalibur Shard.
Ooh, fantastic.
I attempt to grab a goblin standing on my shoulders by his ankle and attack another goblin with him. I'm strong and used to wielding large weapons.
Well, so here's your first problem, is that a goblin is small. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. The thing is, this is not a weapon that you're grabbing. This would be considered an improvised weapon.
Mm-hmm.
An improvised weapon is the same as your fists, assuming that you aren't, like, you don't have the tavern brawler feat or something like that. So it would naturally deal 1 damage plus your strength modifier of damage. Now, the first thing that I'm going to ask you to do is make like a contested athletics check to swing. And then I'm going to have you actually roll the attack, assuming that you succeed, which you probably will because the goblin is not very large. Now, he said that he's good at using larger weapons. This is an interesting bit of information. Weapons are not as heavy as people think that they are. So, like, media has really ruined the perception of how heavy these things are. Like, a great sword of size, like a claymore, probably isn't going to be too much heavier than, like, 6 or 7 pounds. Like a great sword.
Let's see what Google thinks. How heavy is a claymore?
The
5.5 pounds. How'd you know?
Because I know myself. And I'm talking, like, that's, like, the claymore that I'm talking about is, like, one of the largest weapons ever wielded in battle. It's, like, over 7 feet long. Like, huge weapons and stuff like that. Because if you think about it, you're not going to be able to swing around a huge heavy thing that's like 15 pounds for like an hour. You're never going to do that. Like, so the goblin weighs a lot more than probably the heaviest weapon they've ever used.
Oh, that's probably true. Drat.
That being said, this is also Dungeons and Dragons. And the point of Dungeons and Dragons is to, like, it's to be like fantasy. It's like He-Man and Lord of the Rings, where they're throwing dwarves across areas and they seem to carry more weight than they normally do.
Let's go.
I would say that you absolutely can use this weapon. You being able to use larger weapons isn't going to help anything, but your very strong strength modifier is. Additionally, in the rules for using improvised weapons, they say if a weapon resembles a weapon enough, you can just use that weapon's damage for it. So I would probably give you great club damage, just because that's the closest thing that resembles a goblin in my head.
Let's see how much that is. That would be I knew it, a 1d8, and then I'm assuming they would add their strength.
Yep. It'll be 1d8 just plus your strength modifier. So that's what I would say. And I would have that
13 damage.
Yeah, I would have that damage do the same to both goblins.
Whoa. Double hitter. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, perfect timing, Anki. That's the answer to your question. But yeah.
All right.
So the rules say 1 plus your strength. I say I don't care.
You say, I love that.
I'd much rather have you feel like this is probably a barbarian, first of all. Like,
that's what I was thinking.
That's a barbarian move, at most a fighter. But like a barbarian is super, like the image that you have in your head is them like wading through this like tidal wave of creatures, just grabbing them and like chucking them around. Just like some huge giant in a field of tiny little goblins. And you don't want to be like, oh yeah, absolutely, you do that, except it takes 3 damage. And it like, well, that was useless.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Or you could be like, well, that's actually heavier than any weapons you've ever wielded.
Exactly. And if you're in a hyper realistic campaign, that would be the answer for that. I don't tend to
Shout
play
out
those.
hyper realistic campaigns.
Absolutely. I would love
That's
to
kind of
join
cool,
one.
actually.
Where it's like,
We could do a hyper realistic one shot someday.
I'm down, dude. Just like
That would actually
super
be fun.
deep in the paint, where it's like the
We could
nitty gritty of
find-
things.
We could find somebody who runs hyper realistic campaigns and have them DM it for us.
I'm in.
That'd be fun.
I'm in.
Anky says,
Yep, you got it, Mr. Host.
my favorite thing, my goal as a DM is making players feel like their character is cool and they can do cool and interesting things.
I think that is entirely the point. That's pretty much exactly how I try to run my games. One of my biggest frustrations with Dungeons and Dragons is that there are rules in place that sometimes hinder that. And rules are good things. Rules provide structure and encourage like creativity to use them for your advantage. At times, though, the lack of rules tends to make things more even. Let's take weapons, for example. Why would you ever use a great club? The answer is because you have
Just
nothing
for the
else.
aesthetic.
You have
Yeah.
nothing else or the aesthetic. And if you're going for the aesthetic and you have someone else in the group who doesn't care at all about aesthetic, you're going to feel absolutely useless. Which sucks. Like, you can't
And
play
with
your
spells.
thought out caveman with a big club.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have someone else
Booga Booga Club.
who's like, oh yeah, you deal a d8 with your two-handed weapon. I'm going to use one hand with a long sword, deal a d8, and I have a shield. And you're like, oh, well,
Booga Booga is powerless against Smite Knight.
100%. But sometimes you just want to play your barbarian with a great club who got thawed out of a
Sometimes you just wanna
glacier.
play... Exactly.
Whose name is literally
Exactly.
Ooga Booga.
Ooga be Ooga.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Thank you. All right, next up is from that Desna guy.
I'm in.
I'm playing a wild magic sorcerer.
Oh,
I want to push a boulder down on some goblins who don't know I'm here, and then I want to cast a first level spell on my next turn. I have 10 strength, but I really want to push the boulder to start the fight. How can I have the best chance of it?
Most likely. So they don't tell you anything about their other stats. Seeing as they're a sorcerer, though, charisma is probably their highest. What did they say? What level they were?
They don't say what level they are.
Okay, so they're probably not max level. They're probably not first level. They're probably somewhere in the middle. Now, as a sorcerer, if they build it traditionally, charisma and constitution are going to be their highest. But a lot of sorcerers really enjoy intelligence as one of their stronger capabilities. I would say use leverage. You don't have to push the rock yourself. Just get a big enough lever and you could move the earth. And that's
rule this.
pretty easy to do. Well, depending on their spell, they may have something that's able to do something like that. If they want to cast a spell after they do it, then they're going to need a very long lever. I would first have them roll an intelligence check to determine the lever that they want and they think is necessary, as well as how to set it up, where to get it from. I assume that we're in a forest-type mountain situation. So there's probably a tree or something around. And with the help of the party, they could set up this boulder with a lever, and then all they would need to do is walk onto the edge of the lever, and the distance between the two would cause it to fall, and they still have their action available.
You know what? I was thinking a similar thing. Now, Anchored wonders if smooth talking the boulder would have any chance of succeeding here.
It depends on the campaign. If you're in like a very like high magic, high fantasy campaign, like we could get biblical on this, where it says one day the stones will sing, that means that the stones can
The
talk.
rocks will cry out.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you really crush it in a high magic, high fantasy campaign, who am I to say that this rock isn't alive? Like, you know, like as a player, it is your job to recognize what type of a campaign you're in. So like if you're in a like Lord of the Rings, very traditional fantasy, probably not going to do a whole lot. Like elves are kind of dumb in Lord of the Rings, but even they aren't like stone part ways for me. And the rock is like, sick, man, I'm good. like
Part ways.
But if you are in the campaign where like that is a thing that you know is a possibility, light it up.
Yeah,
I got no
didn't
problems.
Specify whether or not rocks were known to be sentient either. Maybe
Yeah.
it's just normal.
Like,
Talk to rocks.
Who knows? Maybe you saw your druid doing it. Druids do all sorts of weird stuff.
Have you seen Frozen?
I have.
The hit Disney film with the hit song
Yes.
Let It Go that took young people by storm in the year of
Mhm.
2017. I'm guessing the year that Let It Go came out. Let me look. Let It Go release date. Just to make sure it's 2013? Over 10 years ago?
Oh, I should
What?
also mention, Grant, there is a possibility that they've taken Quickened spell. And if that's the case, then they would only need a bonus action for the spell.
Well, anyways, in Let It Go, you know those little dwarves, the love dwarves, that say Hans is a little bit of a fixer-upper? Or no, what is his name?
I'm pretty sure.
Not Hans,
Are
the
you
good
sure
one.
that this isn't Frozen 2?
What's the name of the good guy in Frozen? Prince Hans. No, that's the bad guy. Who's the good guy? I can't find his name.
Kristoff.
Kristoff.
Thank you,
That
Anchor
is
Danky,
it.
for
Thank
your
you.
information.
So Kristoff, it's these trolls that sing he's a bit of a fixer-upper.
Is that in one?
These trolls just roll up into balls, and they look exactly like moss-covered rocks. It's crazy.
I'll be 100% honest. I can like never remember the difference between 1 and 2, which is wild because I've never seen Frozen 2. But for some reason in my head... Well, yeah, I know the main song from each. But I'm like, I don't remember which one the trolls are from.
Hot take, Frozen 2 is forgettable.
Well, seeing as I've never watched it, I'll believe you.
No problem. I have a catalog of useless information. Thank you.
Never
That's the
useless.
point of chat.
It's never useless.
They rolled a 20 on their stealth check. Hey, they
Good
rolled
word.
'cause
Good
they're-
word play.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, my point being, this boulder might actually be a sentient love dwarf
Could be. Hard to know.
or gnome, probably.
The real
Probably
question is,
gnomes.
can you withstand the repercussions if it is?
Well, that's where smooth talking comes in.
Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes you don't
Smooth
want to talk
this
too
love
smooth.
gnome.
If you talk too
and then they roll
smooth,
down for you.
let me tell you, Grant, if
Start
you talk
combat.
too smooth, you're gonna get rocked.
Nice. Nice. Hell yeah.
No need to clap, everybody. I know that was good
Alright.
wordplay.
Next question. The next question comes from Joe Lanin.
Mm-hmm.
Your PC's just killed a boss before he had time to reveal something important to the plot. How do you give them this information?
You
Now, I'm
don't.
partially asking this question because this literally happened to
Multiple
in
times.
between the rows.
Drew is a master of like, what if we just killed the thing before it could give exposition? Like, what if we just started fighting it? And it's like, hello! They're like, guess we're stabbing. We're going in. I love Drew.
This is literally what happens.
He's getting better.
You walk in. The big bad is there. Like, walking up. Pum, pum, pum. That's the name of the sound of the footsteps. And the boss is like, I've waited for you. And then Drew's like, I hit him.
So, have you ever seen like video games that have been modded to have multiplayer. So they didn't originally, like, they were originally single player games, but you can mod in like additional people to play at the same time. And the thing about those games is, like, the main person who's like hosting will enter a room and a cutscene will start, and then everyone else can just still run around. That's Drew is player 2. Like, we walk in and it's like the cutscene begins and you just see Drew like scuttle around and start hitting the boss like before, like in the middle of the cutscene.
That's exactly what it's like.
It's
so
incredible.
Your answer is, though,
let them suffer. Here's the thing: you're trying to help them out. You're trying to give them easy information. You looked them in the eye and you said, "Hey, this boss is a link to a larger story beyond. And no matter what you do, you've been caught up in this story and things are going to hit you. And you've decided to erase all evidence and any information that they were willingly going to give you. That tells me that you don't want it. And if you don't want it, then you don't need it. And so when assassins are sent after you later in the campaign and you're like, oh my god, where did these guys come from? Too bad. You would have seen this coming. I wrote down.
We're definitely gonna get to a point.
I wrote down a whole speech.
Don't know what's happening.
There was a whole speech out just ready for you, and you decided nope. So you don't get it. You get to talk the entire rest of the campaign. This is my moment. Let me have it.
I feel like it opened an old wound here.
It's here's the thing. It actually doesn't bother me that much, but my answer is the same. Like,
just let them suffer.
Here's the thing. As a DM,
look, I'm on your side.
This is the correct response as a mature and responsible DM that I would recommend. If your players don't enjoy monologuing with your monsters, don't keep trying to let them have conversations. Instead, hide your clues in the loot, hide it in other places where they can find it that you know that they're going to be looking there. So have a letter be on the desk of the boss monster that they just killed that includes the vital information that you wanted to give them. That's what to do with a responsible DM. My answer is just don't give them it.
It's like parenting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like they learn through, trial and error. They see something, they do something, and then it goes a certain way, and then they know whether or not to do it that way.
Theoretically.
Sometimes they just have to make mistakes.
Sometimes they don't.
You have to live with the consequences.
Oh, yeah, I can super imagine, Marshall. They're just like, adventurers, you have walked into my domain of hell. Like, they're checking the palm. Like, they've got sticky notes, and they're like, hold on. You like throw it away. Gotta flip through their notebook. I lost my page. Someone stabs them, and they're like, oh, well, now I have to start over.
I like the tattoo idea because after they die, they're like, I loot the body. And you're like, on the arm, you see
this crucial
long
information
paragraph tattooed.
This is
what it says. And you just continue the monologue in the...
That is actually a fantastic bit.
Voice.
That is such a good bit.
That's such a funny idea.
That is actually really good. Oh, man. Go to page 7.
All right, well, that's all of my DM questions I have for you, Aaron.
Oh.
Yeah, that's all the ones that I pulled from this thread. Now, if we want to keep the ball rolling, I do have some questions that I pulled that I thought might be fun to answer for our characters from Campaign 1, Abinthy and Edward. Some of them are from r/DM Academy on Reddit, and some of them are from another article that I thought was pretty funny. So, is that something that you would enjoy to do?
I'm down for whatever. I'd say that at minimum, we probably have somewhere around an hour, unless we just want to call it now. But I'm down to go for at least another hour.
All right, let's go. Let's keep going. Let's keep rolling, chat.
Hit
Also,
'em.
chat, if you have any goofy, silly questions for either the DM or our characters, Abinthy or Edward, feel free to ask them. So we'll just do. We don't have to take a ton of time on these. I just think some of these are kind of funny to answer the goofy, silly little questions. So the first one is, the first few are from a user called Capped Wingnut on Reddit on r/GM Academy. The first one is, what is something the party doesn't know about your character?
Oh God.
About your character Abinthy? What's something that Campaign 1's party doesn't know about Abinthy? It doesn't have to be serious either.
Do you have yours?
It can be anything.
Do you have yours?
When I went through these questions, I tried not to answer them in my head.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try to like improv these too. Like, something that I think people don't know about my character Edward is that my uncle was, I just thought of this. My uncle was probably killed for treason, but he was a cool dude. So there's probably something nefarious there. And his uncle was buried in the same graveyard that Cather and Kiyomura took their oaths. So there you go. My father's brother.
You know, I feel like you mentioned something about that
early on.
Early on, yeah.
My father's brother, I don't remember his name, but he was killed for treason for some reason.
Your uncle was the original Pied Piper dude?
Edward always liked his uncle as a child, and then he died.
Interesting.
So, GG.
Yeah. Abinthy has a life-threatening and crippling allergy to chili.
Just any chili?
Well, like there's like some chili spice in this fantasy world that like everyone puts in their chili, and
that Abinthy will just die.
Abinthy, it's like dangerous for him to eat chili.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
He doesn't let anyone know though, because like first of all, that's a weakness to exploit. But also, he doesn't want anyone to know that he like has something that could just kill him if he eats it.
I just picture like a dungeon montage where Abinthy's like in a dungeon, and the last thing before getting to the treasure is just this giant vat of chili.
And he's like, "Sorry,
and
game."
he has to like cross on a rope, and he's like, "Chili, why'd it have to be chili?" As he's like crossing.
Here's the thing. As answer to the question, is it a Constitution check or like needs a revivify? I think that like chili is in, like if it isn't cured within 1 minute, it's immediately to death saves. Like. Like it isn't like I can power through this type of thing. It's like someone who's like allergic to bee stings or like penicillin, and then their throat starts to close up. Yeah, and it's like, well, hope you have an EpiPen.
Now, is it like Abinthy has to eat chili or just touch it?
If it's ingested, if it's ingested.
Okay.
So that's part of that. So that's one of the reasons why. He was gifted a Heward's Handy Spice pouch by his dwarven friend who was Track's mentor. And not because of the chili stuff, but because he had ended up in situations before where he like needed spices, and so now if he's confronted with chili, he's just like, no, I'm fine for the day, and then he can go make his own food and not have it taste bland.
Oh, that's so sweet of him. Anchored had another question for you.
Yes.
Which I think it's a good DM question. What would you do to make combat more interesting rather than hit next person, hit, etc.?
So that's first of all, fantastic question.
I have the same question because we're trying to run an interesting show here.
Second of all, very difficult answer. Because a lot of it requires creativity and a little bit of work, because the goal is like a quick fix is literally just describing how you're going to attempt how you are planning your combat to go. So if it gets back to your turn and you're like, okay, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to run over here, attack this person twice, and then turn around and with the butt of my sword hit the person behind me. already that's more interesting, and it makes things faster because then you can just roll d20, 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 dice, 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 so on and so forth, speed things up. I really like to have pre-planned combinations in my head of what you like to do. You saw this with Abinthy a lot, of like having specific names for different types of spell combinations and stuff like that. DJ has even commented on the feeling where it's like I would choose specific spells only for the purpose of them working with other spells. So like it's hard when you're like a fighter and you don't have a lot of variation on stuff. That's why my personal favorite fighter is Battlemaster, because they get things that are similar to spells that really add a lot of flavor to the attacks that they're doing and add a lot of things. But in general, it's going to be a lot of like, more than just looking at it as a game, describe how your entire turn goes. How are you swinging? Like, what is the intent behind your actions? Is it to hinder their arms or anything? Because also, this is an interesting Dungeons & Dragons thing. The idea is not how many attacks can you make in 6 seconds. If you've actually seen someone who can fight with a sword, in 6 seconds, they can make like 30 attacks. Like, it's ridiculous how fast someone can swing a sword. 6 seconds is a long time in a fight. The question is, how many of those attacks are actual attacks? They aren't feints. They aren't like dodging your opponent's attack. Like, that takes up time. They're not moving to get in position and stuff like that. So you could word it like, maybe you have maybe I'm going from Edward's perspective of like, I have a rapier. I go in and I thrust a couple of times to try to drop their guard, and then I poke over the top. Learn about sword fighting. There's a move for that. Like, there's a name of it. Anytime that you can pull an actual name of an attack and be like, oh yeah, this is a blank. Like, this is called Zverchow and stuff like that, which is, I'm pretty sure, when you have like a two-handed longsword, it's German. So it could also, I think, be a Zweihander. But it's literally, they like chop overhead, and you can like switch to like different sides, and it's like a helicopter blade. Like, if you pull out straight up actual fighting terms, your turns are going to be way more interesting, because in your head it's more visual than like, oh, I'm going to roll a d20 against these 3 people, when instead you can say, ah, yes, I make an approach with my rapier, and then I hit him with a bam, then I hit him with a boom, and then most likely a sword's going to come. My goal is to swipe with a parry, and then a counter thrust towards the throat. Like, you know.
One thing I like about playing with you as a player, Aaron, which I'm going to miss about Campaign 2 a little bit, is how, especially with the planning ahead turns, like, Aaron will not tell anybody about plans he has, and then he will just, like, whip out the craziest combos, and, like, he'll use weird anime words to, like, describe his turns and stuff, and it's such a good time as other players, you know, to watch that go down. It's inspiring. It's a lot of fun.
Well, thank you. It's a lot of just thinking about like what you're trying to accomplish. It's interesting.
Oh, my brother has a long comment, if you want to read that.
Scatter the party, such as conjuring fast enemies that separate. Use stuns, frightens, poisons to force collaboration, and potion use, and take advantage of the environment. Do enemies fly? Jump up higher onto higher ground. Hide behind stuff. This is fantastic advice for making combat more interesting for a DM. Everything there is great. So, like, it is still a bit of a balancing act, right? So one of the things that you don't want to do as a DM is specifically try to counter every single member of your party. Like, oh, we have a person...
Nobody can do anything.
Yeah, like, let's try to make sure to split them up so that the person who has no ranged attacks is going against someone who can fly with a bow. Like... do that kind of thing, and or like, ooh, let's put the gosh dang wizard in an anti-magic chamber against a melee fighter. Like, don't try to counter them. You can challenge them. Like, and this is the environment thing. If you do end up in that situation where like, okay, they've split up, I want to challenge them, put them in situations that normally they have to think outside the box to accomplish. So like maybe the fighter has like a bunch of chandeliers and stuff. Maybe they're fighting in a ballroom and they can like cut the rope to fly into the air and try to pull it to the ground and stuff like that. Maybe the wizard can like use his intelligence to like disarm the thing that's causing that anti-magic, so that way they can fight on an equal playing ground against this fighter. Like using those poisons and like different status effects to like put your characters into a disadvantageous situation lets them achieve something more than that. I would also recommend, if you have players who are good at a thing, give them the opportunities to do those things. So if you have a player who loves combat and they love just carving into enemies and they love like defeating enemies specifically, send a lot of like small to medium enemies at them, because they're going to feel like they're wading through the hordes, just chopping off heads, like sending bodies flying. You don't want to send a meat sack at them, because then it's like 20 minutes of them feeling like they aren't really doing that much, which is still better than not letting them do it at all. If you have a rogue who loves to pick pockets, make sure that people have things in their pockets to pick.
They have like level 100 stealth.
Absolutely.
Now, DJ started campaign 1 as a pretty inexperienced DM.
Yeah.
He really jumped in full force and gave it his best. And I think you can really tell, especially like throughout the second half.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like you can see DJ picking up on that theme more and more
and
as we went. Like
DJ and I
his
like
DMing combat later on versus early on is way different.
Well, and DJ and I have had conversations, sometimes purposefully, sometimes not purposefully, where I would just like he would ask me for advice, or I would have a thing that I'm like, hey, have you tried this? And his growth as a DM has been huge. Like DJ started literally having never DM'd a long-term campaign before. He had like been in one or two, like played in one or two, but he'd never DM'd, like even in terms of DMing short things, he had only done like maybe 3, and then maybe a couple one-shots here and there. So he was a very new DM when he started, and I love that you can very clearly see growth as like someone with a skill set. It's like it was very fun to watch, very impressive to me.
I'm so curious to see how he is as a player in a long-term campaign as a player, because it's so different.
Oh, yeah. And even as a player, like if you look at the couple of times that DJ has been in the one-shots and stuff that we've done, his growth as a player has been huge as well. It's harder to tell because he plays less. But like I already know, like him watching us play and learning from that and learning from the DM's perspective, like what makes a good player, like has really changed. Like he thrived in the one-shot, well, it's the little mini campaign that we have going on right now, if we can ever get everyone here again. He was really crushing it. And so I'm very excited to see what he does in the campaign too.
Yeah. Anchor shout out to DJ. Great game. My brother has a question for you.
Yes.
What has been your favorite monster, not character villain, to control as a DM?
That's tough. First of all, it's been a long time since I've like DM'd.
It was many years ago.
And it almost never is a one-shot enemy. Because I love my one-shot enemies, but normally those perform more of like a story element than like being a good like monster in a combat. That's real hard.
You enjoyed I feel like when it comes to, I don't want to answer for you, but I feel like when it comes to theming monsters, you tend to really like folklore and stuff as far as themed monsters, like homebrew monsters. Like, remember the Between the Rows
Oh yeah.
villain that Drew didn't let monologue? Like, I remember you being pretty hyped about the concept of that thing. Is it something like
So
that,
I'm
or is it more about like what's
specifically,
fun to combat?
Marshall, you may be able to provide me a little more context as to what you mean by not a character villain.
Oh yeah,
Um,
because that kind of was a character villain.
yeah, like is it someone who doesn't have like talking capabilities, or is it like someone who is not named, so a non-named enemy? That does make it
Hmm.
tougher because I mean I love the fights where like a lot of my favorite fights are like culmination fights that are like at the end of like a specific segment, and a lot of those are going to be named enemies. Let me think through my years of doing stuff.
I think about as a player fighting Aaron's monsters. I will say my favorite monsters to fight against when it comes to Aaron's DMing are the body horror monsters that are just like
I do love the body horror
terrible
monsters.
amalgamations of things that don't make sense that are icky and gross and scary.
There are
I
two
have a
that
lot of
come
fun
to
fighting
mind.
those things.
There are
They
two that
usually
come to
move really
mind.
fast.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, go for it.
The first one that comes to mind is actually pretty recent, and it was the Golem from the most recent season of Between the Rows that you fought in like downtown.
Hmm.
I really liked that one.
Describe it. Describe it for people who don't remember.
So the party was strolling around in what is literally a recreation of our hometown downtown. And one of the buildings came to life. They had to fight it. It was actually a siege engine from one of the books, a like demonic siege engine, is what I used as the stat block. But I had modified it in a couple of different ways, and one of the reasons it's one of my favorites is because um, it experimented with a lot of things that I really like, and what was very different from how it was a culmination of knowledge and learning that I had done in a very long time. So it had like a damage shield that prevented damage up until a certain point. So like if you dealt 10 or less damage, it took none. And then once you got past the 10 damage threshold, then it would start to take damage. So already like that's a tough barrier to overcome, but you could disable that by destroying its core. And so like investigation check to locate the core, athletics check to like pull the core out and stuff like that. Like, and then that shield was deactivated, it took a bit of damage, and it was stunned. And as a DM, when you're making combats, like that's another way to make it spicy is to kind of put in like mini games for your players to do while it's happening. Like maybe it's saving civilians, and this is, you can actually see, this is advice that I gave to DJ, and you can really see it in a lot of the last fights that he did towards the end of campaign 1, of like there were other objectives that were important in those combats. It was like getting rid of the necklace of the guy that like connected him to the civilians and one criminal that I super killed as Abinthy. I assume that person was deserved it. Um, but yeah, and so like putting in those mini games really make it a lot more fun, and that was kind of one of the first times that I really successfully did that as a DM. The other one is the body horror monster, called, I think was called the Thrasher. That's probably the one that comes to mind for you. And those were great. Those were just really on in my DMing career, and so
You're gonna have to describe the Thrasher. I can't
oh yeah.
remember. Are
Um,
they the weird things that were like long
yeah,
and they
the half
like
the
went in and
like
out of the darkness?
horse centaur, but not.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have a vague memory of those
So
things.
the reason that it was hard for me to say if that's one of my favorites is I never really had a real stat block for them, and if I were to make them now, I think that they would be absolutely my favorite. But since it was early on, I wasn't as proficient in what I'm
You can
doing.
bring him back. You can bring him back.
But
Hey,
the
Aaron, I have a question.
yeah,
What's a Nebog? NIIPOG.
Pretty sure it's a
Anchored says
nil
that
a
looks like it would be
nilbog
fun.
is what you're.
Nil.
It's NIL.
Forgotten
Off the top of my
Realms.
head, I don't know.
Nilbogs
they're
were
goblins.
goblins possessed by trickster spirits, the result of a condition known as nilbogism. A possessed goblin was a prankster and impish creature capable of affecting the behavior of those surrounding it and of sowing chaos among its allies and enemies alike. That sounds so
It's
fun.
it's an anonym, so if you spell it backwards, it's goblin.
Oh, nice. That sounds like a lot of fun.
I have never used them, but yes, they do seem. I love. So this is another good example of things that 5e doesn't regularly do, but really should because it's awesome. So they have one of their abilities is when they take damage as a reaction, they can reduce that damage to 0 and then gain 1d6 hit points. Which is a really strong ability. But like that it's something that D&D tends to shy away from, is that like complete reduction and health gain kind of combo. I'm just disappointed that they still haven't done the reverse, where if they see someone healed within 30 feet, as a reaction they can like turn that healing to 0 and then deal them a d6 of damage. Like that's brutal.
That's brutal. That is
like,
so brutal. Apparently, my brothers put this in chat. A nilbog is an invisible spirit that possesses only goblins. Bereft of a host, the spirit has a flying speed of 30 feet and can't speak or be attacked. So they're literally like little possessing spirits. They're not even like a goblin creature. They're just the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So theoretically, they can jump between goblin and goblin. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Imagine like a character, a reoccurring character that possesses goblins and then flees and possesses other goblins as the campaign goes. Like that would be so fun.
And let me tell you,
it's different goblins but the same spirit that you're.
They have a challenge rating of 1, but like this would be a very hard fight for a lot of parties very early on, because like, so their first thing is nilbogism, which is any creature that attempts to damage the nilbog has to make a charisma saving throw or be charmed until the end of the creature's next turn, and then they have to use their action to praise the nilbog. But, and this is a cool thing. This is actually fantastic enemy design. The nilbog can't regain hit points except through using that reversal of fate thing. So like the thing that like reduces damage and then heals them for a d6.
Oh yeah.
They literally can't regain hit points except through that method, which is a really cool way to kind of balance out that, because you can't have like goblin shamans that are like healing them or anything like that. It's like you fight the nilbog and either you die or it dies, and then it like flees.
That's awesome.
Really, really good.
That sounds like it would be
design.
such a fun little thing to encounter. All right. Now let's see if there are. So I have more questions about that we could ask about our characters, and some of the ones I'm kind of excited for are from Georgia Davis and Olivia Evans writing an article via Women's Health, which is called 255 Funny Questions to Ask Your Friends When They're Bored. And so I took some of these questions and I just changed the wording so that it is relevant to like our characters.
Hit me.
So, all right. So how about this one? I'm looking through that. I'm going to pick some of my favorites. Does your character have a secret talent?
Well, the answer is always yes.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Abinthy and Edward both have secret talents.
Yes.
We just have to come up with what those might be.
So I will say he is allergic to chili, but he is really good at eating it. Like he could down chili. He could slam bowls of chili. He loves chili. It will kill him.
So okay, just to clarify, Abinthy's secret talent is being able to eat chili.
Dude, if he
really
were to enter a
surprisingly
chili eating contest, he would win and then die at the end.
Is that how he ended up allergic to chili? Is he just like
It may
ate
be.
it way
It
too
may
fast?
be.
He was at some frat party and they're like, eat this pot of chili. You guys gotta see this. And he does it. His
just
body rejects chili for the
just
rest of his life.
slamming bowls one by one.
Everyone's like, oh, and then you just are on the ground.
Catatonic. It's not good.
And they're like, just put him on the couch. He should be fine.
As answer to your question, Anki, it would be very clean chili that would then almost kill him. Maybe fully kill him.
Yeah, the purer the chili, the more dangerous it is.
It's true. There's no other contaminants. It's just murder.
As far as Edward's secret talent, I like to think. Oh boy, that's such a good question. I feel like Edward is actually good at like
embroidery.
Maybe. I feel like he's secretly really I want to say that he's like flexible. Like he can fit in small spaces.
Fit in small spaces.
I don't know why. I know that's not all that interesting, but I feel like, hey, Edward, get in that suitcase. And he's like, I'm on it. I mean, he's not like a thick, dense boy.
No. I feel like Edward probably saw like a contortionist at like a carnival once and was like, I bet I could do that. And then he got really into it for like 5 years.
Totally. Well, you know, what else was he supposed to do on this boring?
So yeah, so like he would just hang out in his room. And then just like
try to fit into smaller and smaller boxes.
Absolutely. And like the maids would stop by and be like, oh my god, where did Edward go? And you'd pop your head out of like a bucket.
I don't know. Yeah.
And they're like, whoa.
He like pops his head out of a pillowcase and they're like, ah!
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's
they're like making the bed and you slide yourself out from under the cover and they're like, where did you come from? You're like, I was there the whole time.
Sometimes Edward just rolls himself up like a little snake, like in under a rock, and he just stays there for a while. Similar to Track, actually.
Yeah.
Just like more.
Track also a very skilled contortionist. You would never see it coming.
Absolutely. Just like Patrick Starr.
Yes. There was a question from earlier on from Marshall. What is some of your favorite NPC stereotypes to obsess over / play around with?
NPC stereotypes? Oh.
Yeah.
That's such a good question. And I know I have an answer. It's just cooking. It's sizzling in my brain.
Well, I can say as a DM, I am a big fan, and this goes for players too, but when I'm like making it an NPC, I love NPCs that are very clearly aligned. Like they very clearly know exactly what they are. I call it the He-Man archetype is a version of it where it's like they are the good guy and they are valiant and not a whole lot of thoughts are going through their head other than like, I will save the people. I'm a big fan of it. Head empty, pure goodness. There's no like, should I join into battle? They're like, someone could be injured. I love the like superhero aesthetic. I think that it's so funny. Just like anything.
Especially when like it's impossible to have a conversation with them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So they're just like, I must save the village. And you're
I
like,
must save my family.
Like, yeah, exactly. Similar vibe, but like other direction. I think I really enjoy interacting with NPCs that are just like really emotional. Just like so existential.
Oh shoot, that
all
is
the
so
time.
good.
And like
where they're just
overly
like
crying.
You just can't say anything to them. Just
like,
nothing
I'm so
at
sorry,
all.
How can we help? And they're like, everything's bad. Oh,
nothing can help me anymore.
Oh, it's over. Like, I think that's pretty fun.
And you're like, what happened? And they're like, too many things he can
Oh.
say. Oh, woe is me,
Yes.
gouge my eyes, tear my flesh. Like, they just get so...
Exactly, and you're like, whoa.
They're like, whoa, calm down. They're like, what is there to be calm about? That is a very good trope.
Cockney accented pickpocket child. We kind of had one of those.
Yes.
Mary was kind of that trope in our campaign.
Yeah, Mary eventually did become a little deranged.
Mary could have been British, for sure.
Mary could have been, yes. Yeah. Yeah, Mary is one of those characters that, like, I was like, you know, DJ kind of gave me full reign to kind of do what I want with her. And so I'm just going to make her a potential character that at some point in time may just kill someone.
I sort of wanted Mary to come back during like a major battle and finish the job or something. I don't know.
Edvar, the necromancer that could only use necromancy,
Dude.
but really hated it. Like, he was a really good wizard. He was like, I worked so hard to learn all these other spells, and now I've been cursed so that I'm only really good at necromancy. Oh, man.
Absolutely ways. Speaking of ways to spice up a combat, provide an emotional NPC to tastefully interact with little screams. Wait, interject with little screams. Like, my leg!
Oh, my! Here's the thing. I love NPCs that do nothing in combat. Like, literally just an NPC. Okay. An NPC that you're like, oh my goodness, we should bring him along with us. And you manage to convince them to go along with you. And they enter into combat, and it's literally them just running for their lives. Like, they don't fight anything. They have, like, 10 hit points, and they're just trying to not die.
And we've subjected them to this terror.
Yeah, so there's a...
They didn't want to... Dave didn't want to come.
He's like, look, but man...
We told him we could help him, and now he's here.
Like, some people weren't cut out for this. There's a fantastic character from Dimension 20 that is literally that. And, oh my... It's fantastic. Like, they get into combat, and they're like, okay, so the Balrog is going to run over... punch him in the face, and he will get downed. He will die on impact. Like, literally just insta-dead. And they're like, what? And they're like, he has 10 hit points. At minimum, this creature does...
How could you do this to
10 damage?
NPC? And you're like, they're a normal person.
You wanted him here.
This. You're the reason he's in this situation. Why are you mad at me?
I'm actually kind of surprised that this has not happened to our party. Because, like, a lot of big names have had that happen. Like, Critical Role had a moment where it was like, 8 hit points? What do you mean 8 hit points? And Matt's like, she's a baby. Like, what do you mean?
It's because we have people in our party that care a lot about, like...
the NPCs living?
Yeah.
Yes, we do have that. Oh, man. NPCs that are not at all planned. We have an NPC in our current... Dan. Oh, man. See, Dan is such a named-on-the-spot name, too. Like, I love single-syllable names. Where, like,
such a, like, petable name.
Yeah, this is Chet.
Oh, you're our new NPC pet. Your name is Dan. We love Dan.
We love Dan.
We want to keep Dan. DM.
And Dan's like, I mean, okay.
He was the son of armorer who wanted to play music instead of take over the family business. Actually, you know what? I can relate to that. My character can relate to that. Family businesses?
Get out of here. We don't need them. I think we got time for a couple more.
Okay, cool. One of them is, what is something your character does that would be embarrassing if everyone found out?
Oh, man. Just how much chili he makes and doesn't eat.
Okay, you can't keep choosing.
We can't keep getting away with this.
You can't keep getting away with it.
Oh, man.
Somebody needs to make a meme of Aaron. There's like a question, then it's just the answer is chili.
Dude, here's the thing. I don't even really like chili. I'm not a chili guy. I think that
Yeah,
it's
see,
okay.
Abinthy reflects yourself.
No, Abinthy loves chili, dude.
I have a question.
What?
Oh yeah, he just dies if he
Yeah,
eats
he'll
it.
just die.
So somebody asked earlier, like, what about chili adjacent foods, like white chili, or
Well,
like
here's the thing.
chicken gumbo? That's basically chili.
There is he isn't specifically allergic to chili like the name. There's like a chili spice in Nico Muris that is like the chili spice, and he is allergic to that spice. So if that spice is in there, like you could throw it on a sandwich and he would die. But like people don't because it's like, oh, that's the chili
Abinthy's
spice.
weakness.
Yeah, that's his
Abinthy
big
is essentially
weakness.
immortal now, but that's his weakness.
That's his
Like,
kryptonite.
the
Is
chili spice.
this chili spice that is unnamed and never will be.
So I didn't think about this one. What is an embarrassing thing that Edward does that would be embarrassing if everyone finds out? Edward.
Oh my, go on.
Edward wears like 3 pairs of underwear. That's one thing. That's one option because he likes the security. But the second thing that I think he does that would be more embarrassing and is sort of related is whenever, since he was a kid, especially when he's wearing nice garments, whenever he uses the bathroom, 1 or 2, he gets completely naked.
Edward would.
Here's the reason.
That is absolutely an Edward move.
His reason is because he doesn't want to mess up his outfit. If he's going to,
dude, like who knows? You may be fighting demons in there, bro.
Well, he needs to start from the beginning, from square one, because he needs to be on fleek for the gram.
Oh my goodness!
And so he needs to start by putting on his 3 pairs of underwear, and going from there. He can't just like
hefty,
drop
dude.
trowel and then like pull it back up and expect that his whole fit is like,
Edward is fully sewn into his outfits each day.
Yeah,
like
so
they're one
the
solid
campaign,
piece.
You know what's funny too? I think I would comedically take a long time in the bathroom because I thought it was hilarious. Like in the campaign, I'd be like, 20 minutes later, Edward comes back, and what's funny is the reason could be because he just literally
That's how long, dude.
Every article of clothing, no socks, like nothing, and then he has to put it all back on.
And in medieval wear, that's like effort. Like there's a reason that you would like have someone there to dress you, and it's not because you're lazy. It's because it takes like 2 people to get the job done. Like it ain't easy.
So I think that's
that's
Edward's.
I'm really trying to think of Abinthy's. I feel like Abinthy, not all the time, but he does like corset. Like he's like a little
Edward?
like no Abinthy.
Oh, okay.
Like he does like a waist trainer. Like he's a little self-conscious about it. And he's like, "Look, I need to look good."
we do have some chats, but that actually leads really well into another question, which is if your character were to wear one, what would their prom dress look like?
Oh shoot, dude, you're asking me about dresses. That's a dangerous walk,
and Abinthy's
dude.
a tailor, bro.
Yeah, man. I got to do some research.
Edward would wear something elegant, probably not something too puffy. It would probably be one of those it'd probably be one of those more tight ones that kind of follow the like width of the legs. So when he walks, it's like, flexing against his quads.
Mm-hmm.
That'd probably be the kind of, and then just a normal circle, what's this, collar, short sleeves. Or no, long sleeves for sure. Yeah. The long sleeves with the trail, the like lace trail or whatever. Probably like a velvety burgundy red. That's my answer.
So
and a leg slit for sure. You already know. Here's
the thing. Abinthy would go in on prom.
I know.
Abinthy's showing up. goddamn stealing the show, like as aggressively as he can. Like we're talking like sheath style dress. That's like form fitting.
I'm gonna have to look this up.
That's like it's like form fitting, low cut collar, shoulders out, like. Because here's the thing, we just mentioned the waist trainer thing. His Abinthy is snatched, dude.
Bro, absolutely.
His waist
Bro.
snatched. He's got like an hourglass figure. He was born. You can't tell because he wears like heavy clothes, like robes and like a cloak. But like this is the time, dude.
What's funny is like our answers were actually kind of similar.
Dude, we would show up.
We would be the best looking couple.
Absolutely, dude. Also, our wives would be there too. We're
Actually, I'm changing the color. Mine is deep like mossy green.
You see,
and I feel like what color would yours be?
Oh, aggressive like night blue. Like blues, but there's like a pop. Yeah. He's got like a boa, dude. Like he's got like off the shoulder, like an additional garment that could be removed if necessary, like to change up the outfit. Wow. Honestly, throughout the night, he probably ends up wearing like multiple different forms of the same outfit. Like you can take off the train.
Makeup too.
Oh,
he's got
styling.
He's got the wings.
First of all, he doesn't do his own makeup. Glossia would do his makeup, and Glossia would crush it.
Dude, that would be demonically powerful. Like, that would be seductive, bro.
Look, people aren't making it out of here. All right.
What are you trying to say?
Because, dude, they're dropping at the sight of us.
Oh, you already know.
I'm just saying.
We walk in, and everyone, the music stops. Everybody looks.
It's like Mean Girls, like, dude.
We're here, and then the music starts up again.
Yes, that is how it goes. Abinthy.
What's the first prompt? Edward and Abinthy are typing into the AI picture generator.
I don't know, dude. Here's the thing. I don't think Abinthy would be big into AI, like AI art specifically.
Really? He would be anti-AI?
Not necessarily AI. I don't think that he would do the AI art because he can just make it all in like illusion stuff, and he could like just make that.
Edward would type. What would he type?
He would probably search like 6th layer of hell. Just to see what the AI thinks that his wife lives. Like, just to see what the AI is like, well, okay. Like, just how wrong it gets.
Edward would be like, global government, or common government 100 years in the future, and see what the AI tells him. And then you'd be like, interesting. Could this be the way we're going?
Fascinating.
I doubt that, AI. Ha ha ha.
Not if I have anything to say about it.
I don't know. Just one search now is for fun's sake, because I feel like Edward would be like, how can I glean off this AI? If it was for fun's sake, Edward would probably be like, Tarak in dress.
This is after the prom, and you're like, man, I wish my best friend could have been here with us.
I wish I could see just my best buddy in like a tight.
You can
dress.
Photoshop him into the picture.
Tarak in tight dress.
Also, if we're talking Tarak would go with a ball gown / Empire fit.
Yeah, absolutely would. And he would look good too. It would be the really big puffy.
Yeah, Tarak was not meant for
lots of lace.
Tarak was not meant for dresses. Abinthy could rock a dress. Tarak would not enjoy it.
Tarak absolutely had a dumpy though.
Tarak would be considered an apple definition, which is round chest and hips with little waist definition.
Gotcha. Good to know. Right. Moving on. What fruit would your character be?
Oh,
Aventhy, peach.
I see. Here's the thing. I love peaches.
Peaches are good.
I don't
Yeah.
think that Abinthy would be a peach.
No,
Abinthy
no,
would be a
no.
star fruit.
Okay, that's a good answer. I was thinking maybe like tomato.
You are the worst.
What? What's wrong with a tomato?
Tomato is only 50% a fruit. Depending on
That is not true.
Depending on who you're asking, it actually does fall into the vegetable category. If you're talking scientifically,
What?
it's a fruit.
Next time you're gonna tell me water isn't wet.
Well, that depends on what part of the water.
Okay. Tomato, all of the fruits. Of all the fruits, what would Edward be? Edward, you know? Oh no. Why is he this? Maybe. What is Edward if he was a fruit? I feel like Edward would be, such a good question. First, durian? Edward is not durian.
He's just a stinky boy.
I've tried durian before, and it is yucky. It is yucky. I wanted to say cucumber. Because
God, why you are the worst, dude.
Wait,
Just choose a fruit, bro.
That's actually a vegetable. Hold on. Let me look up list of fruits.
So here's the thing. Botanically, a tomato is a fruit.
Yeah.
By any nutritionist, they'll tell you it's a vegetable. So the question is, a tomato is only a fruit if you're looking at it. If you're eating it, it's a vegetable.
Is he a cranberry?
Maybe. He might be a raspberry.
A raspberry?
Yeah, a little bit of zest, a little bit of zing.
Yeah. If you get a good raspberry, it's really good. But most of the time,
Yeah, no, that's pretty Edward. And here's the thing: raspberries are like my second favorite fruit. Like I love peaches. Raspberries are close. Blueberries are the people's fruit.
Are cucumbers fruits?
They may be. I have a feeling that they're considered like a. Oh, there's a specific
cucumbers
thing.
have seeds in the middle and grow from the flower of cucumber plant. They are botanically a fruit. Edward's a cucumber. But that's a little too suggestive for Edward.
Well, yeah, they're another one. They're closely related to pumpkin and squash, but they're another one that a nutritionist would say, no, that's a vegetable.
5 fun fruits to try. Crambola, starfruit, which is you. Guava, kiwi, papaya, mango. Lame. I actually love mangoes. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know what Edward is as a fruit. I don't know. Pear. Dang it. He's a pear.
Pear is fair.
I feel like he's a pear.
You might be
Am I
grapes.
wrong here? No. Maybe.
Here's specifically like green grapes. And I say
green
this.
grapes popped in my head, and I didn't want to accept it, but I feel like maybe I don't know.
say this specifically because you would be in a wine vineyard. Like grapes that are going to be wine.
Keep talking to me.
I think is very much Edward.
Yeah. Why else? Why else does he eat grapes?
I have nothing more. You enjoy getting stepped on eventually?
Watermelon, picked straight from the newer fields. Do you know what that is? Never mind. It's funny. My brother will laugh at that.
Which SpongeBob characters are they?
Well, Edward's obviously probably Pearl. Unfortunately, I don't know. Like,
Oh man,
I feel like Edward's pretty Pearl coded.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I'm not a big like SpongeBob guy.
Aventhy's Mr. Krabs, probably.
Maybe.
To be honest.
I don't know, dude. He's not like that greedy.
Well, Mr. Krabs is sometimes pretty chill, but
I don't
he's
know.
also a little bit mysterious and strange and like a little
Like,
crotchety.
what is in that secret ingredient? What
Bro,
is it? It's crab.
I actually absolutely.
It's crab.
Yeah. He's deep. Mr. Krabs is deep, bro. Deep under the ocean. Oh!
You see, I'd love to believe that somehow Abinthy is Larry the Lobster, but I don't think that I can
you'd
quite
like
make
to think
it.
that.
I think that
Unfortunately, that's Cather.
I think that Abinthy would say that he's Larry the Lobster, but I, in good conscience, cannot.
Is Kiyomura Larry the Lobster?
Yes, Kiyomura is definitely Larry the Lobster.
Okay.
Dude,
Okay, that's fair.
Cather is Sandy. Cather's the squirrel, bro.
I can actually see that. You know, Sandy's pretty unhinged, but also smart and really capable in combat.
Mhm.
So, like, yeah.
It
Also,
got an accent.
I don't know if Sandy is religious, but I wouldn't necessarily be surprised.
Dude, she's from Texas.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, yeah, she is.
Straight from the sprawl of the suburbs.
100%.
Cather's plankton? Oh?
I don't know, man.
Could be.
Baby?
I feel like plankton would be close, or I feel like Cather would be closer to Karen, his computer wife.
Weirdly enough, I think
Plankton.
that Abinthy might be Plankton. Come to think of it. If like his like if only Plankton's schemes
Krabs.
if only his schemes
that?
succeeded. That was actually really good. If his schemes succeeded,
Was it?
Abinthy would be Plankton.
Sometimes I can do the Welcome to Bikini Bottom voice. Do you want to hear it? You want to hear it?
I'm waiting.
You didn't. You didn't.
Grant, I just assume that you're gonna do what you want, regardless of what I say.
Welcome to Bikini Bottom.
I feel like my voice is a little shot today.
I think that was clear until you went up on pitch towards bottom.
Yeah, usually I can do it higher. Let me try again. I got this one.
Welcome to Bikini Bottom.
I don't know. I can't judge. I don't know the voice as well. I just don't know it as well.
My dream is to be able to do my leg, but like it's so raspy.
It is.
My leg.
Like it's so hard to do.
That was actually really solid. I liked that one more than your Bikini Bottom. I thought it was that
you.
tracks. I think we have time for like one more.
Lagoon.
I think we
one
got
more.
time for like one more, Grant.
Can I do two more?
Sure.
Oh, there's so many good ones. One of okay.
Let's blitz them.
Can I have you pick one?
Sure.
Okay, so here are the options. If your character was arrested, what would it be for? What's your character's go-to pickup line? Is your character embarrassed of their Google search history? What's your character's immediate ick? Those are the questions.
I say let's go with first and third.
Okay, so the first one is if your character was arrested, what would it be for?
Blasphemy.
Okay, actually, good answer.
Yeah, that's immediately what it would be. And it has happened in lore. That is a real thing that Abinthy got arrested for. And will again.
Yeah, that's actually a good
Of
answer.
an actual
Abinthy is
current...
blatantly anti...
Yes.
Like,
anti...
religious hierarchy.
Yes. If we were to say... Because you can't get arrested for blasphemy now. Big L from the government. Current thing that he would get arrested for in like today's time. Probably like breaking and entering.
Just like plain and simple.
Yeah, but
Just that's probably
no,
it.
tax fraud. That's what it would be.
Honestly, yeah.
Abenthy's like,
Like,
I own this. I'm not paying you
Uh,
more money because I already own it.
What do you mean these aren't tax expenses? I needed this temple to cast my spells.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and like, what do you mean? I need a permit to sell wares. I made it and I want to sell it.
Yeah, you know what I think you'd get arrested for? Like
Fraud.
selling unregulated magical items.
Yeah, it's definitely like
which is another fraud. Like it would definitely be a fraud thing.
Yeah,
Abenthy
plays big
trinkets.
crimes. Big crimes in that one.
For sure. Yeah. I think Edward would get arrested for murder.
Yeah, I could see it.
Oh wait, I'm thinking. He's a vigilante.
Yeah.
So if he
vigilantism is a crime.
That would be what it is. Because like sometimes Edward plays assassin, and he doesn't like to, but sometimes that's just how it boils down in this medieval world. And he's got to answer to Daddy, the Chosen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in modern day, what Edward would be arrested for would be... Oh, boy. Probably... I know. It would be public... What's it called? Disturbing the public. He would, like, complain loudly at a restaurant.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair.
Or something. Or, like, yell at somebody doing injustice in the street, and then people would call him in because they're scared of this man. Maybe. I don't know. That's my best shot. All right. Number 3. Actually, we have a question from chat. What, in great detail, is the story/character you're doing for Campaign 2? And/or, what's your favorite Campaign 2 spoiler? Or, if Campaign 2 is an airplane, what model would it be?
Or, if Campaign 2 is a fruit, what fruit would it be?
Campaign 2 would be... Just kidding. That's too much. Anchored would crack the code as to what we're doing for Campaign 2 with that exact answer.
Give me some time to think on it, and I'll see what I can do. I'll say... I think that if it was a fruit, it would be a pomegranate. If it was an airplane...
Pomegranates!
The airplane one will take me a bit, because I don't know my airplanes as well.
Mustang. Classic. T-37 Mustang.
In the meantime, what's the third one again?
Wait, I'm looking up a T-37 Mustang. That doesn't exist. All right. Coming up next. Is your character embarrassed of their Google search history?
No, but should he be? Probably.
Good answer. What would he be embarrassed about?
I mean, dude...
What should he be embarrassed about? That face.
Dude, like... I mean, bro, you know who his wife is, dude.
Bro, there's a reason I put this in here.
Like, here's the thing, right? Glossia is literally the queen of succubi, dude. She's gonna be like, yo, next time you're over here, let's try this. And Abenthy's like, oh, yeah, that's nice. And then he's gonna be like, he's gonna get home and he's gonna be like, I gotta figure out what this is. Because she has named 9 things that I do not know what they are.
Whew. All right. Well, not for the faint of heart, it sounds like. Good answer. Pretty much what I expected. Edward would be embarrassed about his search history. But not for what you think. I
hope that it's just super tame.
Well, yeah, it's super tame. It's just Edward asking Google questions that the general public knows the answer to. So, like, it would be like, what is Riz?
Yeah,
like,
it's full on, like, boomer search engine.
How much is a good tip? It's like stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just really like, common sense information that, like, you probably should know.
It would also be stuff like songs everybody knows.
Dude.
Because he doesn't know them.
Like, is gluten not gluten free. Like just really
Yeah,
like
it's the worst. It's the most embarrassing questions that he couldn't bear to ask anybody he knows in real life. Like that's what I feel his whole search history is. Yeah. I do have one last one.
Yeah. Hit me. One more.
And this was literally a question that was on this. And I think it's a funny question. Applebee's or Chili's?
Well, the answer is Chili's. Because he likes to play a dangerous dude.
Yeah, he does. You know what? What's the guy's name in The Fault in Our Stars?
I don't know, man.
What? How do you not know this?
I've never even seen the movie,
Fault in Our
dude.
Stars guy. Ansel Elgort. No, he plays Augustus. Yeah. You know how Augustus, he has the thing where he's like, he puts a cigarette in his mouth, and the girl's like, oh, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I put the thing that can kill me right between my lips."
Yeah, dude, that is that. I know the scene.
That is so Aventhy coded, bro. It's
it really
so
is.
Aventhy coded. That's good. Edward's absolutely an Applebee's guy, and he loves Applebee's a little too much, because everybody agrees Applebee's is
God, he is
mediocre,
an Applebee's guy.
But Edward's like, the gang is like, "Where should we go for dinner?" And Edward's like, "Oh, Applebee's," and everyone's like, I guess."
Like, dude, bro,
Edward's
no,
like,
they know me there, dude. I'll hook you up.
Their fettuccine chicken, dude. Oh my god.
And they're like,
and everyone's like,
God,
"Okay,
it's
chill,
not."
bro. It's just Applebee's." Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to
What a
say,
journey.
for various reasons, the answer to the question of what plane is going to be the A-12, also known as the ox cart.
Oh, whoa, for real?
That's what I'll say.
A12 ox cart
Yes.
model plane. Okay,
I would say the SR-71, but I think that's flying a bit too high.
But
Like it holds
this
both
plane
altitude
looks-
and speed records. I don't think that I'm willing to put up with that.
this plane looks sick, bro.
It's a good
Oh
plane.
my gosh. Wait, what was the other one that you said was flying a little too high?
The SR-71.
SR-71. Ooh.
Let me
Wow,
tell you,
dude.
Anchored, I don't know a lot about planes either. This was
Well,
like
there you
5
go.
minutes of plane research.
The more you know, guys. Well, that is the answer for your campaign 2 question.
And that's
So
what we've
we
got.
expect you to have a solid theory as
I
to what the whole
have it all
campaign will
figured
be
out
about.
by the time it hits.
We'll keep dropping powerful hints like
Yeah.
that up to the time.
Speaking
where
of
we will
which,
start.
keep an eye out. I believe on Monday we'll have you more information next
Monday!
Thursday.
Monday, we're announcing basically when we are tentatively planning to start campaign 2.
Yeah, at least a general time period that it'll happen, if everything goes well. So, that's 2 hours. That's a full stream for us. So, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone in chat. Thank you for being so engaging and so awesome. Your questions were fantastic. Your conversation was wonderful. We appreciate everyone who has been here, everyone who is showing up right now, and they're like, "Oh, it's ending," and everyone who is seeing us in the future. And
Hi.
Hello to the VOD people. We know you're out there. Second of all, I'd like to thank Grant for being here for maybe the first time that it's just me and Grant. I can't remember if there's ever been another time that it's just been me and Grant. Normally, like, Drew is here or something along those lines. You did a fantastic job today planning this episode.
It was
Because
so much fun.
I was super tired and didn't want to do it. I literally sent a message. I was like, "You guys just plan something. I'm going to take a nap."
And then I was like, say less.
And I woke up, and Grant was like, well, it's just you and me, so I've got it. So thank you, Grant. You were fantastic today. Good answers, good questions. The only thing that I have left to say
Gotcha,
today,
big boy.
only thing I got left, Grant, is a little thing that we say every time that we finish off streaming or recording or anything. Good luck and Godspeed, everyone. We will see you next time, Dungeoneers. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.